Well, good evening, gang. This is Dr. Jester. So glad you're part of this class, Christian Faith and World Religions. I'm really excited to be part of this with you. I'm looking forward to the next 8 weeks as we interact on the subject of world religions and comparing Christianity to that. As we go through this, we're going to learn a lot, we're going to interact a lot, and I think it's going to be an exciting time. Looking forward to it. So as we begin this course, there are a couple of things I want to talk to you about. First, the theory of original monotheism essay. I wanted to deal with that. So we're looking at the strengths of original monotheism and the weaknesses of original monotheism, comparing that to evolutionary approaches. Now, keep in mind, I don't want you to go back and describe original monotheism as the God of the Bible, etc., etc. That is what we're talking about. But what you're using as your argument is the theory of original monotheism as is described in your textbook. What does that mean? It means the idea that throughout the world there's this concept that there was an original creator God, that he developed the world, he is the author of the universe, he's the originator of humanity, etc., etc. And that at some point in history and in time, people developed because of disobedience, they developed the idea of other gods. They started worshiping their own gods that they created. In my worldview, I would say that is demonic spirits that they worship. There is still only one God, in my opinion. So that's the theory of original monotheism. One of the strengths of that, if you go back in the history of many tribal religions, you will find in their history they have the idea that there was once a creator God. He made everything. He was God of all. But at some point, due to human disobedience, he removed himself. He became utterly transcendent. He's no longer eminent. He's no longer with people. So he removed himself. And they replaced his presence with spiritual deities that they concocted. For example, in a lot of tribal religions, you have spirits that control the water. You have the deity of the mountain. You have other lesser gods. They're below the creator, but they're more accessible. So these people pray to them. In the evolutionary approach, they would say that monotheism is the highest development, but it never started out that way. It started out as the basic understanding that there is some kind of animated presence in the universe, in the world. And then it develops from that to the idea that there are deities, there are spirits, there are controlling forces, and on through that until the point of monotheism. So it's right the opposite of original monotheism. What I want you to do then is compare those two approaches, analyze them according to strengths and weaknesses, and then look at number 3 right here. Present your own argument with a rationale to defend, critique, and revise the theory of original monotheism. Throw some of your own ideas, what that means to you. And certainly the God of the Bible, that's that point to throw in some scripture and make a strong defense of what the Bible teaches us. And then second, this whole class is working toward a project. It's called the Portfolio Project. That's where you're going to take all the religions that you've studied. You're going to present them in a 25 to 35 page format, where they're in one document, something that you can use to teach others with in the future. And you're going to present that in the final analysis. The first assignment you're going to have is the Portfolio Project organizational framework. What it's asking you to do there is think about how you want that end product to look. Now, I know for many of you, you're going, I have no idea, and I understand that. When I started my doctoral studies in my first class, the very first question they ask us is, what's your dissertation going to be about? And at that point, I had no clue. I just knew I wanted to study certain things. But as I progressed, class after class, session after session, colloquium after colloquium, every time I talked to people, they were honing my research. They were honing what I wanted to discuss. And that's kind of what this is. We're asking you to think up front how you would like to organize this. You may not have any ideas right now, but that's where some of these other items are going to come in. So, for example, this is a sample portfolio document that someone submitted and gave me permission to use. Up front, they went ahead and went into their evaluations and describing the portfolio. and what that meant to them, some personal considerations about all of this, and I've kind of cleared out some of their work in order to make this presentable. And then they organized it in a descending list. So I want you to notice, first of all, the first religion they present is Judaism. And here's the way they did it. They did a descending list that talks about the history of the development of Judaism. And here, they went ahead and described the basics of that. They looked at subgroups, principal texts, major beliefs, and you're doing this for each and every religion, fundamental practices. And then as you go further, you see the same thing for Islam. You see the same thing then for each and every religion that they're presenting. And then that does not mean that they only use this structure, but that's where they present the main ideas, and then maybe right before or right after that structure, they discuss some of these issues in more detail, so it provides more information as part of the portfolio. Now, for example, if you go up here and look at Smart Art, you're in Microsoft Word, you go to Insert, Smart Art is right here. This gives you all kinds of options for how you want to organize it. The Descending List tab is here. There are so many others that you can choose from. What I want you to do is just look through some of these. There's a cycle process. For example, this is a great one to use. Or this one, you could list Islam there, and these are your points around that. And then, of course, on a separate page, then you have to discuss each of those details. Those are all options for you to use. There are other shapes, other types of diagrams and art objects that list relationships. So all of these are types of schematics that you can use as your organizational structure. What I encourage you to do is look through there, and then when you write up your framework in this first assignment, go ahead and throw that object art in your document. For example, if I'm going to choose this one, it's not one I would choose, but if I'm going to choose this, I'm going to throw that one in there. I'm going to write a short thesis and say, this is my organizational framework, and this is what I'm going to say about it. And then I start talking about the rationale. Why did I choose this? Why does that relationship appeal to me? And how does that speak to me in what I hope to accomplish with mine? You can do that list form, descending list. You can do that in a hierarchical arrangement, however you want to do it. But select that object, describe its contents, give me a rationale, and I will tell you this first assignment on the framework, there are no points deducted on that, so just get that in, discuss it, make sure you write it like a good academic paper. Remember, we are also using Turabian only. We are not using APA, we're not doing parenthetical references, we're only using Turabian, okay? And then also remember that if you have any questions, any concerns, any problems, text me, call me, email me, however you can get a hold of me. I respond much quicker to text and emails. I will call you, however, as soon as I am able. I'm not always able to answer the phone immediately, so just get a hold of me any way you can, and I'll make arrangements to call you, okay? I am really excited about this class. It's a great class. Some of you have had students in other classes and residency, and going to have a lot of fun. I will go ahead and let you know that in this coming week, I'm going to be at residency all week, so sometimes I may not be available. But at night, after residency, I'll get caught up on communication with everybody. Looking forward to it, excited, happy you're here, excited you're here, and looking forward to this entire class. God bless you guys, and happy studies. I know I got to turn it off.